Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Welcome to the spaceship we call Earth. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network. Our guest this evening, for close to 2 decades, Keith has mesmerized audience all over the world. At an early age, Keith wanted to be an FBI hostage investigator, fascinated by their ability to influence the outcome of a hostile situation. He dove headfirst into pursuing the study of the human behavior. While studying criminal profiling and psychology, he took to the streets to observe people in their thought patterns, habits, and body language. It wasn't long before his passions were combined to create a well-received show and keynote that you see today, an experience like no other. And, there we go. Recent winner of Penn and Teller's show, Fool Us, television show, degree in psychology and criminal profiling, performances in over 7 countries. I introduce to you the one, the only, Keith Kong. Welcome, Keith. How are you?
Thanks, Paul. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You're very welcome. We planned this about probably close to about 2 months ago, and I've been waiting and waiting. I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to this. I got to see what I can do on camera.
Yeah, it's been great. Honestly, my schedule's just picked up so much since the start of this year, especially. So it's been rough trying to find a good time to do this.
And you actually have a performance to do right after this show. So let's keep this intriguing. And how, as far as the FBI thing, how did that? Obviously, it worked out well. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so one thing that most people don't know when they come and see a show that I do is that I actually really love the psychology. I'm really passionate about it. I have a degree in criminal profiling and psychology. And it's just like you said earlier, I've always, for as long as I can remember, just been fascinated with understanding people, what makes them work, what makes them do certain things and why they do them. And I just dove right into that. In high school, I took advanced placement college classes on the subjects, and it's been great. Basically, I go around, I do these corporate events, and what you see is a result of the combination of a love of magic, a love of psychology, and just showmanship.
Yeah. I tell people too. They're like, "What do you do on your on your free time?" And I tell people I people watch. I like to watch people, and they're like, "Huh?" So this is a whole different meaning of people watching, essentially.
Yeah, it's yes and no. Anybody can people watch, and it's fun. And there's a difference as well between the textbook knowledge and experiential knowledge. So I've studied psychology, I've read the textbooks, I've taken the classes, but I've also met people that surprised me with how keen an understanding of human nature they had just from their own life experiences. And I watched them call things out before it's happened, like, watch this person, they're about to do this. And then you see it happen. And I love that stuff because I'm built a similar way.
Yeah. So I've heard this years ago. Pantomimes, is that something that you kind of look at? You kind of watch the people's body language and pay attention to see what the body gives away, the pantomimes.
Body language is a huge part of it. And a lot of people often misunderstand it because the thing about body language is you have to read it in clusters. So for example, a common example is the arms crossed. People typically tend to think that that means someone's standoffish or closed off, but they may also just be cold. Now, if you look at their arms crossed, their feet are also pointed towards the door, which indicates an area of desire. Now you're seeing congruent signs that this person's disinterested, that they don't really want to be there. So it's about knowing the different signs and then looking for clusters of them.
Yeah. I've also the work that I do. I mean, I know and work with a lot of spiritual mediums, and when I bring up the about this show that we were doing this show, and they're like, "Oh, that's intriguing," because a lot of mediums too also look for body language. They look as you know, not only are they channels with spirit and stuff, but they're also looking at people's body language to see how they're feeling, and that gives off an energy as well. Do you kind of feel that way when you're reading people? Do you get like an energy? Does something come to you other than just knowing by a person's impression of body language?
Yes and no. And I might go off on tangents and stuff during this,
No
but
worries.
I think about it from different angles. So when you talk about looking for body language, it's important to know, despite what I do, that I also think a dose of skepticism is healthy in everything. So it makes sense that somebody would be looking at body language because they're seeking confirmation in their readings, right? They're looking to see whether or not something resonates with the sitter that they're working with
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
So that's me thinking from a real logical point of view, but also just intuitively, I think that we as people are better at reading others than we often give ourselves enough credit for.
True.
I think that the moment that I mean, we've all experienced it when we're talking to someone and we just sort of sense that they're not being fully forthcoming. Do you know what I mean? And you don't know what it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's just sort of a feeling that you have.
Yeah, it's not only a feeling, but you can, and sometimes if somebody is not being forthcoming and they're just straight up just not telling you the truth, you can feel not only that you feel that, but you can see it in their body language. You can see while they're not looking you straight in the eye when you have a meeting, or they're, they're holding their hands, or they're hiding. Yeah, they're hiding their hands, or yeah, they're closing their
Yeah.
their arms and stuff like that, or they look like they're hiding something other than while they're saying it.
So body language is one of the topics that I teach. So I do workshops and keynotes on this sort of thing. And it's really great because you can tell so much about it and once you understand the different body language signs, you'll be unable to unsee it in everyday life. So, for example, typically palms up is, if you had to guess, Paul, what would you say that palms up would be when it comes to body language?
Palms up tells me that somebody is open to receiving something, like not necessarily a gift, but information. Like what's
Yeah,
next?
I
What's
could see
coming?
that. That makes a lot of sense. For me, when I see this, it's an indicator that the person's got nothing to hide. So if you think about when you might see an expression like that, picture somebody playing baseball and they're sliding into a base and the umpire calls them out and they look at the umpire and they say, "What do you mean?" And their hands come up and it's basically, I'm I was safe. I'm telling the truth. I've got nothing to hide. What
Yeah,
do you mean? And so that's just an example of once I learned what that meant, and now you watch baseball and you see it and it just all makes sense. And people watching becomes a lot more fun once you know
yeah,
what the people are doing. So phone conversations are great. If you see someone on the phone, are they stood upright? Maybe it's a business meeting, or are they kind of hunched over? And now you
yeah.
can tell it's more of a romantic phone call. So it's really fun to watch when you know what you're doing. There was a TV show a few years back called Lie to Me. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but
It sounds familiar. Yeah.
the main character on the show was named Dr. Cal Lightman. And Dr. Cal Lightman was based on a real life guy named Dr. Paul Ekman, who Times Magazine placed as one of the top 100 most influential people of our time. And this is a guy who traveled the world from America to Papua New Guinea, and he would find the 8 universal micro expressions
Yeah.
and everything to do with body language. You talked about a fake smile. There's a polite smile. There's also a sincere smile, a genuine smile where the eyes move. Those are just two of the 8. And really fascinating stuff. But he put out certain products to teach people how to read body language. And I was fortunate enough a few years back to beta test some of those and get to work with
Wow.
the best in the business when it comes to this stuff.
Wow. That's cool. So now this drew you into the entertainment. How did you get into the performance aspect after, taking the psychology classes and learning all the body language? It probably, how did that come to you going, man, I think I could do something with this other than the
Well,
FBI, which is also
yeah.
cool.
Well, actually, I'll go backwards. I'll start with the FBI thing and then flip it. And
All right.
I remember being in college taking these criminal profiling classes, and ironically, the first week of these classes, I had a show, and my professor turned out to be in the audience. I see this guy. I've only had one class with him so far, and I'm like, this guy looks familiar. And we just start talking, and it's like, yeah, I'm in your class. I'm your instructor. And he was a sergeant in the police department. And we got to talking, and he said, well, if you're doing this, why are you in my class? And I said, well, it's just sort of a backup plan. I I really want to pursue performing full time, but this is the backup plan. And he said, you know, all of my friends that had backup plans ended up being cops.
Uh,
Basically saying, I think what he was trying to say is, if you're going to go for something, there is no plan B. Like, this is
mm,
all there can be. And so that kind of stuck with me. And I had to make that decision. I've always been really practical. For example, I played baseball throughout high school, and I remember thinking, okay, my time's being split right now. I'm playing sports, I'm going to school, and I also want to pursue performing. I've got to make a decision. And it was a really rational choice. Like, only X amount of people actually make it to the MLB. And
yeah,
I'm not that good. Like, I'm good, but honestly, it would be a long shot. On the other hand, if I could control my own business and grow at my own pace and stuff like that, that sounds like more of a sure thing to me. Even as uncertain as it was, it's still more sure in my mind. So I stopped playing baseball despite it being fun in order to fully pursue this. And as far as the question about how I went from psychology into performing, it was actually sort of the opposite. While I've always been interested in psychology, I started performing on my 11th birthday, and I
wow,
started doing what I would what I called at the time magic.
yeah,
So where most kids have a performer at their 11th birthday party, I was actually the one performing at the
right
party.
on,
And it got really good responses, which is nice because for a kid, when you're blowing these adults' minds, it just it feels powerful on one hand, but on the other hand, you're just really happy to make other people happy. So I went on, I did that for several years until I was in high school. I think it was freshman year. A hypnotist was coming to the school to do like a homecoming show, and that fascinated me. So I showed up to the show 4 hours early. I
yeah,
stood there and I watched as this man came through the door to load in, and I introduced myself as another performer. I helped him set up for the show, and we talked, and I picked his brain the entire time. And in that conversation, he mentioned a mentalist to me and asked me if I'd ever heard of this person, and I said no.
huh,
So I'd gone home, I looked him up, and it turns out everything in my show to that point was mentalism, but I'd been calling it magic. I just hadn't experienced mentalism. I didn't know it was even a thing. And it's sort
yeah,
of like a specialization. If you think about a doctor versus a heart surgeon. So then I just sort of dove fully into that, and it's been nonstop since.
wow, wow, that's cool. Well, let's dive into your work. Out of the frying pan and into the fire. What do you have to present to us today? What do you got?
Yeah. So a lot of what I do centers around influence and persuasion, and this is a topic that I give talks on as well. And to show you what I mean, I brought a deck of cards with me because in an influence demonstration, there are two important things. One is the target, and my target is right over here. So I want that to be clear from the start.
All right.
And the other is the process, the procedure. And this is a very simple procedure. It uses a deck of cards, and it goes without saying that every card is different. For anyone just listening, you can see I'm showing all the cards now. They are all different. However, I'm going to try to influence Paul to stop at a very specific place. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to take cards one at a time, and I'm just gonna give them a toss.
All right.
At any point that you feel the urge, I want you to just say stop. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go.
Stop.
Right here.
Yep.
Are you sure? Now, there's cards all over the floor, and you could have stopped me on any of those, but you stopped me on this one here. Can you tell everyone what that is?
Is that a three of spade? Or is that a
That's
five
the
of spade?
no, that's the three of
That's
spades.
a three of spade.
Three of spades. Had you gone one more, it would have been the six of diamonds, the two of hearts. You can see you had a ton of options. I'm fanning the cards out here. You had a ton of options, but you stopped me on the three of spades. And I don't think that could have been any more fair. Would you agree?
Correct.
But I told you from the beginning that I had a target in mind. I wanted you to say stop at a very specific place. I'm going to grab that target now so you can see that this is the three of spades.
Wow. That's amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Wow.
Yeah, so there's a quick little example to get us started of the kind of thing that I do. But when I do this in actual practical real life applications, you think about any time you need to influence someone for anything, and that's pretty often. Anytime you're trying to get anything accomplished, it's like making a sale. You're selling something, you're selling yourself, and that requires influence, persuasion, and it's even better if you can get them to believe that it was their own idea all along.
Yeah. And for the fact that that card was larger, is a larger card, that definitely makes, that's cool. That's cool. Wow, man. I'm not even going to ask you how you did that, but that's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I've seen some clips, and we've been airing the clips. We've had it on our YouTube channel for probably a good month and a half now. A lot of people have seen it, which is a trailer of the work and the places you've been and the shows you've done and stuff, including the clip there of Penn and Teller. They must have really been stumped.
Yeah, that was such a crazy experience because these are guys that I'd grown up admiring, watching on TV. And I remember this sort of surreal moment where I went to see their show when they were performing at the Hard Rock one year.
Yeah.
And I stood in the crowd afterwards just to meet them. And when I met Teller, I said something. I don't know why I said it. And I'd have to tell you sort of a long-winded backstory.
No worries.
But there was this young magician that had written to Teller, and Teller had written him back. And the letter that Teller wrote that guy was really, really nice and really well circulated in the magic community. And the guy that wrote to Teller initially ended up becoming pretty successful. He has had his own show on Discovery, and he's been crushing it on YouTube and all of these other platforms. And I just remember going up to Teller and I said, "Oh, I read the letter that you had written," and he says, "Oh, that, yeah." And then out of nowhere, I don't know why, but I just said, "I'm going to be the next one," or something like that, like to the effect of, "I'm going to be the next success," because I remember seeing all of these people crowded around them and so many other people aspiring to do big things and do this full time. And I just remember, because I'm a very analytical minded person, I was thinking, well, it's not going to happen for so many people here. Like, I got to be the one. It's got to work for me. And so it just kind of came out like, I'm going to be the next one.
Yeah.
And then fast forward several years, and I'm standing on their stage, and I'd just gotten done fooling them, and Teller's running up to me backstage saying, "How did you do that?" And so, man, it's just come full circle. It's been amazing.
Did you tell him that story you just of that? That you tell them that?
I didn't, not yet,
No.
because everything was so rushed on the TV show. Time
Yeah,
is money,
yeah,
and it's just the production of it all. And
true.
I was supposed to go back there and have the sit down, but COVID has postponed that. So one day,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
know the story, and it's just mind blowing to think of what you can manifest.
Wow. Yeah, there was like a quick there was another clip somewhere on, I think it was on there, one of the producers or something like that. I think one of the producers had a little video. I'm not sure if you saw it. I seen it when I saw some of the actual clip of the full show. And there was some other videos and stuff on the YouTube channel, and I think it was may have been one of the producers, and they were talking back. Him and Penn were talking back and forth on video, and he mentioned you. He's like, "What did you think about that?" And they were like, "Dude, he still doesn't." He's like, I don't know," but that was awesome. So
Yeah, and that was super cool. I think I know the video you're talking about. If if you're listening, you can find it on my YouTube channel, Kong Mentalist, and I believe that's Matt Donnelly, the show, one of
oh
the writers on the show. That's
yeah,
the guy that's in Allison's ear and
yeah.
writing all these lines and stuff like that. And yeah, it's great. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's a very short video, but Penn says some really flattering things
Yeah,
about
yeah,
the
yeah, he
performance.
does. Yeah. Um, so what do you have on the Zener cards? We were talking about that before we started recording. For those people who do not know what Zener cards are, I can describe that, but I'd rather give you the floor.
Well, I'm actually interested to hear your description of them, because this is your wheelhouse, and I if there's anything that you haven't said, then I'll fill it in
Yeah.
if I know
Oh
it.
yeah, definitely. So I bought my first set of Zener cards. The first time I saw him, and I'm sure the first time a lot of people have seen him when they saw the very first movie, or the very first
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters movie. Who was it? Was that Bill Murray, or was it? I
I
forgot.
believe so.
I think it was Bill Murray's character. So they got the card with the star or the squiggly lines or the circle or the square or the triangle, and they don't see the shape, but you have to guess. You have to when the person sees the card. Or wait, no, yeah, the person who's holding the card is looking at it, and then the person's supposed to guess. It's kind of like mind reading, like you're reading the person's mind of the shape that they're actually seeing. So I've used it first when I was studying medium, or not mediumship. It was metaphysics, because I mean, mentalism is a study of it within metaphysics, because it is a metaphysical trait, mind reading. So, but anyway, that's a general idea that I
Yeah.
got.
So the first time that I had ever heard about Xener cards or seen them was in a book called Psychic Powers. And they're
Uh,
actually on the cover of the book. But once you get into the book, the author explains that they were created, they were designed in 1930
cool.
by a guy named Joseph Banks Rhine, who is often referred to as J.B. Rhine. And they were actually developed at Duke University by a guy named Carl Zener, hence the name Zener cards. And so
Uh,
there's five symbols, and I'll show them here. I brought a couple cards with me, so for anyone that's
all right.
seeing the video of this, you can see I've brought 5 of them here. And there is a circle, a cross or a plus sign, 3 squiggly lines which sort of look like waves, a square, and then finally a star. And so I've got them all laid out here. Now, Paul, you mentioned that you played with these in the past.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Um, it went fairly well. I had
Good.
someone test me on it to see what shape came to my mind. Um,
So
and I'd say I probably got about, at the time it was about 6. It went from 4 out of 10 to about 8. I think it was about 8 out of 10 that I had gotten right.
wow, that's actually really good. So in the original experiments, what they would do is they would take 25 of these. It's just a set of 5, but they would repeat. And so there were 25 total cards. And then they would go through. And if you got more than 5 correct, which I believe is chance, like 20% is
Yeah.
just the probability of chance. Had you gotten greater than that, it was an indicator of someone that was psychic.
Yeah.
And so JB Ryan was huge in the paranormal psychology department in that area. And I thought that it would be fun to give it a shot right now. So I'll show you what I mean. We'll switch
Right.
back. And if you could just go ahead and describe this for anyone that can't see what we're looking at here.
So for those that are going to be listening to this on podcast, we got 5 sets. We got 5 cards from left to right. We got a star, square, squiggly lines, a plus sign, and a circle.
And what I've also brought with me is 5 of these that you cannot see right now. They're in my hand and they're face down. So it's going to be completely up to you. And I want you not to think about this. I want you to just go with your intuition, go with what your gut says. But if I take one here, what would you say just instinctually that this is? Is it the circle, the plus, the wavy lines, the square, or the star?
Something's coming to me as far as I'm saying plus sign.
You're saying plus sign.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll set that there. Actually, would you like to check now or would you like to hold off?
I'll hold off.
Hold off? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go with a second. And whenever you feel the urge, you tell me what you think this card is.
Star.
The star.
Yeah, star.
Okay. How about we check these two, how you've done so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got plus.
Whoa.
All right. 1 for 1 and star. Okay, that's awesome. 2 for 2.
Cool.
Let's do the rest. What do you think?
Squiggly.
Squiggly? Okay.
Lines. Circle.
This one here. The circle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then last but not least, a square.
And square. Are there any of these that you would like to swap, of the ones that haven't been shown yet?
All right. I'll really.
You don't have to. Just remember, if you don't, that you could have, and if you do, remember that you didn't have to.
Let me switch the square and the circle.
You'll swap the square and the circle.
Yeah.
Are you happy there?
I'm happy.
Okay. Ready to check. Here we go. Last minute swap on these.
Oh man.
That.
What?
There we
go. Unbelievable. Wow. Man, I tell you what, geez, wish I could use profanity on this show. Holy F.
That's bleep awesome. It in post. Thank you.
That is amazing. Wow. Huh. Yeah. That. And for the fact that you asked me if you gave me the option to change things, which then gives anybody the opportunity is like, well, if they were rearranged, then I'll just, swap them. Yeah. That's cool.
Thanks. And it's important. It's worth noting. We haven't talked before this to set anything up. You didn't know what I was going to do in the beginning with the playing cards, or now with the Zener cards. It's what you see is what Paul is seeing here for the first time. And
technically, the last time, which was the first time that me and you talked, was about a month and a half ago. This was in February when we first originally set up. Decided to book the show, and that was it. I mean, that's amazing. Wow, that's cool. And I see the sign behind you, palmistry. Do you do you read palms by chance? Is that something that that is intriguing? Because I find that stuff intriguing too. As far as I always wanted to get into palm reading.
Yeah, it's intriguing to me. It's not something that I am proficient at all in. It's something that I've sort of dabbled in. But lately, the thing that's got my interest is tarot cards and
Oh yeah,
learning how to do readings with those. And that's just something that I never really thought would resonate with me as much as it is. And it's a slow journey because the interesting thing is tarot is not, if you approach it with an analytical mind, sort of like myself, it's
yeah,
not that kind of thing. It's more of an intuition and understanding based thing. And I used to not like it. And the reason is I would think, well, these are just sort of broad statements that anyone can make apply to their own life. Like if the magician comes up in a reading, I can I can find a way to rationalize it by saying, "Oh, well, I'm always looking to manifest something new." And so that for me was a sticking point. But the more you get into it, the more you realize that that's where the magic in tarot is.
yeah.
The ability for it to mean exactly what it needs to mean to a certain person at a certain time is pretty interesting. And if you apply the message of the tarot card, because these cards are just universal truths that have been around for centuries.
Yeah, yeah,
So if you just apply it with a positive outlook, then it's sort of like a little daily dose of inspiration to keep you sharp in all areas.
absolutely. Yeah, tarot, oracle cards have become a big craze now. It's we had someone on this weekend, Nancy Robbins. She actually makes a bunch of oracle cards and stuff like that, and I find that all the artwork and stuff that's intriguing.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and so the maybe I got some what we got about we got about a little less than a half hour left. So what so traveling, you've been to 7 countries, correct, thus far?
I've been to over 30 countries,
Oh wow.
but as far as shows, I think I've performed in about 7 or 8. So
Yeah.
I travel for work, but I also just love travel. And I'll be going to Costa Rica in, well, I'll be going to Mexico next week. I'll be going to Costa Rica in June. And I've been to those places before, but then I'll be going to Colombia for the first time in September. So I've already got a few trips lined up for this year.
Yeah. Right on. For performances, for some shows?
No, these are just for fun.
Oh,
The Mexico one actually has a little bit of business tied in as
yeah.
well.
Right on. Right on. Um, so any upcoming projects you've got coming down the pike really soon, or like a book? I mean,
Yes.
people like
Well,
books.
actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. You're still on it from the Zener experiment, but
Yeah.
a book is something that I've been working on, and I'm biased, but I'm telling you, this book is going to be amazing. I'm
Yeah.
calling it a psychological Swiss Army knife, and it's going to just cover you. We've talked about persuasion and influence and body language, and all of those things will be in there, but you'll also see things about the psychology of attraction. You'll learn all about mnemonics and how to train your brain and have this superhuman elephant like memory when it
Yeah.
comes to tasks. People often say that they have a bad memory, and it's not necessarily that. It's more than likely the fact that they have an untrained memory. So in the book, I'm going to show you how to overcome that, and then also dabbling in the process of creating a course specifically on memory while we're on the
Yeah.
topic of that.
Huh.
Now,
Definitely. Yeah.
if you're listening and you are interested in any of these things, then in order to get the updates and stuff, the best thing to do is join my emailing list. And you can find everything. I'll tell you the best place to find everything that I've mentioned here and more is at kongmentalist.com, KONG mentalist.com /links, LINKS. And that will take you to a page with all of the links that we've talked about, the YouTube channel, joining the mailing list, and it's fun. The mailing list is fun because I give you, it's not like that very salesy sort of thing. In every email, you'll hear a little bit about what I've been up to, but it's in very short story form. So
Yeah.
the emails are short. They usually tell a story, they usually give a lesson, and they're called Insider Insight. So you become an insider, you get access to regular insights, which are sometimes funny, sometimes sad, but there's always a lesson or a takeaway that you can get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Um, see, so I'm looking at the topics here. The psychology of attraction, sales, influence, negotiation, success. Da, 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 da. Let's see. Now the shows that now people can book you if somebody's have like done weddings, birthday parties, corporate events. Um, so if somebody
Yes.
wants to book, have you do a party, a private party and stuff, how do they reach out to you?
So kongmentalist.com is going to have tons of information about all of these events. The main thing that I do tends to be after dinner entertainment for corporate audiences, award shows, and that sort of thing. But I did just do a 70th birthday party recently. I'll be performing at a wedding event just in about 2 weeks. So I'm available for all of that, and we'll work together to make the most of the event.
Yeah.
Because if you read those Insider Insight emails, you'll hear a lot of horror stories from events gone wrong with other performers, or just things that I've experienced or witnessed that we can now avoid by working together on your own
Yeah.
event. So we'll work together to discuss that and make sure that it's a good fit and that we can maximize the results. And if you're interested in that, then check out kongmentalist.com, fill out the contact form there, or you can get in touch by sending an email to booking@kongmentalist.com, and that email will be looked through and then forwarded to me, and we can schedule a call.
Awesome. Someone asked me the other day that had seen the premiere that I put up, or the teaser that I put up on the YouTube channel, and then they asked me one thing, is like, does he have his own show in Vegas? I'm like, I don't know. Is that something that you're thinking of?
I do not currently. It's something that has been sort of discussed with one of the owners of one of the resorts off the Vegas Strip,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure. It's something to think about. I sort of feel like for me, it may be a better option to do a different city like New York.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's just because when it comes to Las Vegas, everyone thinks it's this amazing, glamorous place. And it is. However, if I was to say the name Jerry McCambridge to you, does that ring a bell at all?
No, not really.
Right. And so Jerry McCambridge has the longest running mentalism show in Las Vegas. And when you land in Las Vegas, you may see his name on billboards and stuff. But outside of Las Vegas, and this goes for not just mentalists, but other performers outside of Las Vegas, even in Nevada, in other areas,
Yeah.
that person could be completely unknown.
Huh.
And so you sort of get locked into this one little area. And
Yeah.
then when you come out, it can be difficult to reintegrate and work with corporate clients and everyone else, because now you've just sort of fallen off the grid for a while, and I'm not sure I want that to happen.
Yeah. 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 It's a circus there. I've been there a couple times, and I tell you, wow, it's its own world. What stays there, what happens there definitely stays there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so let's see. What else can we do you have anything else up your sleeve? No pun intended. But
Right. uh, so yeah, we can do one last thing here.
all right.
It's something, tell you, I'm a little nervous. I haven't done this in a while, but let's see if we can get it going. So I brought this with me for everyone listening.
Ah,
This is a heavy duty staple gun, but it's empty.
yeah.
So we've got to
Okay.
fix that. We're gonna add a couple of staples in there right now. And bring a little table up. Hopefully you can make some quick adjustments. There we go. So I've got a table in view here. We're gonna take the staple gun and I'll set it there. But to go with that staple gun, I've brought a few others. Only thing is, these are all empty. So we have one that's been loaded and 3 that are empty.
So for those that are listening and can't see this, there are 4 staple guns exactly the same on a table. One is loaded, the other 3 are empty.
Yes, so we're going to play our own little version of a game called Russian Roulette. And in order to do that, I'm going to sort of block this with my body as I give these guns a mix. That way, nobody knows where the loaded gun is, except for me. And this all goes back to that game of influence. Only now, the stakes are much higher. Paul, do you have any idea which of these staple guns is loaded?
I have absolutely no idea because you've got them. You had them covered up, so it's a guessing game.
Now, with that in mind, you are going to call the shots here. Quite literally, you're going to call the shots. I'll show you what I mean. I want you, just like you did with the Zener cards, just like you did with the playing cards, I want you to just sort of get a sense for this. And I'm going to ask you, this will be staple gun number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Which of these staple guns do you believe is safe? I mean, 3 of them are safe, but what is your first choice of a safe one? Is it number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4?
I'd say I'll choose number 1 as being a safe one.
This one here as safe.
Safe.
Okay. And now this is really your decision. Is that true?
Correct.
Like I haven't told you what to say. So if this goes wrong, this is your fault. No, I'm kidding. All right, here we go. I'm going to try this. Number 1 is safe. I hope you're right. Okay, that is safe. Good call. Number 1 is safe.
You're making me nervous.
I'm making myself nervous. All right.
Because for those that are listening and can't see this, he's putting the staple up to the palm of his hand and pulling the trigger.
Yes, and so far so good. That number 1 was safe. So we will move on. We have number 2, number 3, and number 4. Which is safe?
Number 4 is safe.
Number 4 is safe. Okay. Same as before. Staple gun is raised up to the palm of my hand. I'm about to pull the trigger. Here we go. Number 4 is safe.
Damn.
Now, I know if you're listening, you're not stupid. Don't try this at home.
Yeah,
goes without saying.
Definitely don't try this at home. And if you're watching, you're probably just as nervous as I am.
So we're down to 2, staple gun number 2 and staple gun number 3. Which of these remaining 50-50 chance, or which of these do you believe is safe? Is it number 2 or number 3?
I am feeling that number 3 is safe.
Number 3 is safe.
Number 3 is safe.
Here we go.
Oh, shit.
Number 3
Whoa.
is safe.
Oh,
and that leaves us with one more. that leaves us with one staple gun left, and we'll grab just a random
Number
playing
3,
card
for
here.
those who are listening and couldn't see it, he actually held that stapler up to the side of his head.
And just so there's no doubt, that
Wow.
so,
Whoa.
Thank you for
Thank you.
choosing wisely.
Woo. Man.
There we go.
You know what? I tell you what, you saved the best for last.
Well, it could have ended. It could have ended
yeah,
a little bit anticlimactically.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Man, yeah, and you see, this is actually the very first time that I've seen some of your work. I mean, I was at for those who don't know, I've actually met officially and unofficially met Keith quite a few years ago, but not, through a friend of mine. Because Al was like, yeah, I'm gonna have my birthday party over at this apartment. I'm going, oh, okay. And then that's when I first met you. That was like what, 4 years ago? I think about 3 or 4 years
Yes, it
ago.
was.
4
It
or
was a
5
while
years
ago.
or something. Yeah. And you were doing card tricks and this and that, and everybody's having fun and stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. And but yeah, I never participated in any of that. But now it's like, boy, was I missing something.
Yeah, I can't remember what I did that night, but
Yeah.
sure, it was a good time. It was a fun night.
It was. It was. So where can people find you next? Your next, do you have a public event coming up?
So I primarily do private events for corporate events and that sort of thing. But I have been discussing doing some public shows in the Central Florida, Orlando area. So there's nothing official yet. We're discussing it with a venue, and it'll be a rare opportunity. I purposefully like to sort of keep those public events sort of scarce and rare.
Yeah.
And it's always a great time because people are constantly asking, when's the next public show going to be? When is it? And we're overdue for one. The last one was October of 2019. So if we make this happen, it'll be a fun time. And again, the emailing list is going to be a great way to find out about that.
Yeah. And how can people get on that emailing list again?
You can find it through kongmentalist.com, and you can find everything at kongmentalist.com/links.
Cool.
So that's going to be your best bet. But honestly, social media, Facebook is going to be huge. There's a Kong Mentalist Facebook group that you can join, and if you join the email list, you'll learn all about that stuff too.
All right, we'll have a bunch of stuff in the description of the video in the description down below, and we'll also have your information on our video resource page on the Conscious Radio Network website. So everybody can go there to get more information, sign up on the email list. And yeah. Do you play with fire? Like real fire?
Not too much. There were some things in the show that used fire, just talking about like a lighter, for example. But I sort of pull back from it because in the corporate arena, it's sort of a red flag when you see that on stage or at the start of a meeting planners, event planners, they don't always like that. So I've not too much in the shows.
Yeah. Cause a lot of the places I've gone to a lot of the shows and you've expos and stuff, you can't even have a candle inside. So it's like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man. That's amazing. So for those who are listening, you definitely got to watch this. So if you're driving, when you get home, you can listen to it, but when you get home, definitely watch the video. It's amazing. And if you want to book Keith for a private show, if you got a wedding coming up, you got a birthday coming up, you've got just a special occasion, yeah, go to his website,
Kong
keithmentalist.com.
Mentalist.
Kong
Kong,
Mentalist.
yes. And
KONG mentalist.com. Wow.
right, and it's Kong Mentalist on Instagram, on all social media platforms. And I'm just really, because I'm so passionate about the real psychology behind this stuff, I'm always looking to share. So looking for speaking opportunities and workshops and that sort of thing. Are there any questions that you have that you think the answers to might be insightful for the listeners when it comes to psychology, any specific situations or anything? To put myself on the spot, I guess, anything that you think I could help with now?
Well, I know a lot of people have, I've even asked this question too, is, people ask me, what's a mentalist? What's the difference between a magician? Difference between a magician and a mentalist. And as a mentalist, I think that's kind of two questions, but as a mentalist, and I brought this up a little earlier too, has this enabled you to go further into the human psyche, meaning at an energetic level, being able to not, I don't know, necessarily mind reading, but energy reading, psychic behavior. Have you felt that? Have you felt like that this is also a part of that mentalism is also a psychic gift?
I'm not sure that it's a gift. I think it's something that anyone can really learn to do over time.
Yeah.
And uh, given the right circumstances and the right conditions and training. And for me, it's sort of made me more open-minded, whereas in the past I'd be very skeptical about everything and I would say ghosts aren't real and this sort of thing. And now it's more of an open-mindedness to say, well, I've never seen a ghost, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't exist. There are things that happen on stage and just in the real world that are unexplainable, and I don't think that we can have all of the answers. So my
Yeah.
experience here has opened my mind in that way. And as far as energy and that sort of thing, I'm not sure if it's because of mentalism, but over the years, I found myself leaning more towards things like meditation and mindfulness practices, and
Yeah.
things like that just feel amazing. The open-mindedness that I mentioned earlier when it comes to tarot. And to answer your question about the difference between a magician and a mentalist, for me, it's sort of like a specialization, but it's more than that as well. Because when you go and see a magician, you have this willing suspension of disbelief. That's what they call it in theater.
Yeah.
You go, you say, I know this magic isn't real, but we're going to set that aside. We're just going to pretend and we're going to have a good time. That's sort of the social contract that we've entered into. But with mentalism, people aren't always sure. Is it real? Is it fake? Was some of it real? And if so, which parts? And I
Yeah.
love that uncertainty. It's my goal to sort of blur the lines between reality and deception
Yeah.
when it comes to the entertainment aspect, when it comes to the show. When it comes to the educational side, I want you guys to have the real world information. I'm going to give you everything I know, everything I've learned over years. I'm the kind of guy that used to go to library sales where they would sell their old books and stuff and buy psychology textbooks when I was in middle school. So it's
Yeah.
really something that I take pride in and appreciate.
And now I definitely see, now that you described it, as far as, magic and mentalism is, now I see it is because what the three things that you did, I didn't, when you were finished, I was like, I didn't have to question whether it was real or not. That was the proof. It's like, there is no second guessing. I
Yeah,
mean, the
it's
end
not
result is boom, real.
right. It's not this sort of ta-da thing at the end,
Yeah.
but it's something a little bit more subdued, but it will last. It'll resonate with people and last longer in their minds. And there's just so many reasons that you would want to bring a mentalist to an event, because everyone's favorite topic. This is the same reason that palm readings are interested in tarot readings, because everyone is so fascinated with themselves and understanding who they are and understanding where they're going in life and what everything means. And so with mentalism, you're basically reading their own minds and working with them. They are the show, the
Yeah.
audience is the show, and their mind is my stage. So it's a fun time.
Heck yeah. Wow. Well, talking about magic, I tell you what, you are magic and well, just unbelievable. Very it to me, it in your heart, it kind of in my heart, it kind of feels like magic. It does. It becomes a magical experience. It's like no lack of a better word. But yeah, it's amazing. You do amazing work. I've got to say. And so yeah, we'll close up the show. And for those who want to see Keith or want to book a show, go see his website. You can get all of his information on the Conscious Radio website or down in the description below this video. And but yeah, you're welcome back anytime, Keith, for if you got a big project coming up or when that book comes out. We'll get you on and maybe do some more stuff.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me. It's been
You're
really
you're
fun.
very welcome. It's an honor, man. I'm glad Al brought you up. He's like, you got to have Keith on. I'm like, oh yes, yeah, okay, definitely. Oh yeah.
Cool.
And I don't regret it. It's been awesome.
Awesome, man.
Cool.
Well, thanks
Well,
again.
I'll let you go because I know you've got another show to get to. And so, Keith, you have a wonderful evening. Good luck. And I hope Penn and Teller calls you back to do another show. That would be cool.
The producers, a few of the producers I've spoken to, that's the thing they ask me. So when are you coming back for the next season and stuff?
Yeah.
And so with anything that I do, I just always want to do an amazing job. So I'm just sort of waiting to be ready with something equally as amazing, if not more. And
Yeah.
so we'll see. Only the future will tell.
Heck yeah, definitely. Well, Keith, blessings, my friend. And I wish you the best and good luck on that book and good luck on the next shows. And it's been an honor to have you on the show. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. And thanks for listening, everyone.
You are very welcome. Thank you, everybody, for listening to and watching Conscious Radio Network. Please subscribe, like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, thank you all for listening and watching. Y'all take care.